So welcome everybody to the second in our seminar series. This is part of our project Teaching and Learning for a Sustainable World, and we're developing a network of research and practice. Ko Sally Birdsall Toko Ingoa, and we're going to open with a karakia. And please feel free to join me. And so our karakia says, kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa po ngāmu te moana, hei huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou ia tātou katoa, hui e tā iki e. And our agenda today, once again, I'm going to do a brief overview of our project, and then I'm going to introduce Associate Professor Adeniki, and she is from Nigeria, joining us from Nigeria today. There will be time for questions after her presentation, and then we'll wrap up with information about our seminars to come and our closing karakia. So our project is being hosted by Ngā Ara Whetu, which is our University Transdisciplinary Centre for Climate, Biodiversity and Society. And we are working on research to respond to the challenge of creating sustainable futures and building collaborations with academics and with our community. So we have thriving people and thriving environment. And so our project specifically focuses on building this transdisciplinary network, focused on teaching and learning. We're looking at pedagogical strategies and approaches, and hence our invitation to Adeniki today to talk about her work and the way that she builds sustainability understandings in her students and her work. And so following on from that, it's my very great pleasure to introduce Adeniki today. And Adeniki is a very esteemed scholar in this field. She is the Honorary Associate Professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering in the University of Birmingham. And she also is a lead author and senior research fellow at Afi Babalola University and part of the Green Institute in Nigeria. And at the Green Institute in Nigeria, they're championing, it's a hard word to say, sustainable solutions to environmental challenges, including climate change. And Adeniki is also a National Geographic educator, which is a really high honour. And she has a lot of innovative initiatives and education programs that she's running, and she's also a prolific author. And today, she's going to talk to us about going green, one student at a time. So welcome, Adeniki, and we're really looking forward to hearing about your work and your ideas. And I'll hand over to you to share your screen and begin.
Thank you so much, Sally, for the wonderful introduction. So I'm going to give me a second to pull up my screen. All right, perfect. Can everybody see my screen? All right, great. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. Kia ora, I hope I'm saying that right. So today we're going to be talking about the Green Institute. The Green Institute didn't start as a Green Institute, it started as an initiative on campus. And as Sally has already introduced me, I'm an environmentalist, and it's a pleasure to meet you all virtually. And so we started the Green Institute, and one of our goals is to nurture the next generation of sustainability leaders through education, through advocacy, and through innovation. And we want to instill a deep understanding and commitment to environmental stewardship. So we are committed to Climate Action 13 and see the way it interacts with other SDG goals. So at the Green Institute, we have 5 pillars. We have education, we have equity, economics, environment, and energy. We've not really done quite a lot of work for now, we're picking it one after the other. So we've done a lot of work in education, and as well as environment, as well as equity. And we've not really done much with energy and economics. So how did this journey start? I did an internship in the United States with the President Clinton Foundation. And after the internship, I went back to Nigeria And there was something called a day of service that is done by the Clinton Foundation. And the idea is to go back to your home country and start something, start a movement. So I was able to organize a day of action in a rural community in Ondo West local government in Nigeria. And after going to organize a day of action, I decided to take up a role at the College of Education, now a University of Education, at AME Federal University of Education in Ondo State. And while I was teaching my students, and I mean, this is about 10 years back. So that's very, very important because now a lot of people know what green is, a lot of people know what sustainability is, but about 10 years back, especially in rural communities. So I asked my students, what does it mean to go green? And I was surprised in a class of over 250 students. A lot of them were just looking at me, what is she saying? So, and it's understandable because you want them to, in a developing society where people are still in the physiological needs, they're still trying to get water, they're still trying to have access to clean water, to food, to the basic needs. It's really, really hard to tell them to start going green, even though they're doing it already, but they don't know that they're doing it already. So I had a dream for the campus. When I went on campus, I saw that a lot of places were dirty, a lot of students were not disposing their waste properly. So the dream for me was, how can we make sure that our campus has a very sensory environment? How do we ensure that our students are graduating, not just on the theoretical level, but applying whatever they've learned to their communities? How do we ensure that staff and students have a very cordial relationship? And how do we ultimately create a sustainable campus? So step one, 10 years back, we created a book. It's called the Green Book. So I gave it to my students and said, if you don't know what it means to go green, you should read this book. But when they came back to class, I found out that they were just, like kind of like a route learning. They're just memorizing things and just coming back to tell me what I would like to hear. So it wasn't quite practical. So I approached the provost of the College of Education, and I spoke to him. I said, "You're a young person. A lot of young people don't know what it means to be green. Can you please? Is it possible for you to, instead of coming to campuses, coming to the campus with your car, is it possible you bring your bicycle to campus?" Which is, in a Nigerian society, this is quite unprecedented. This is not something you see every day, especially when somebody's in a high position. They don't ride bicycle to work. So he said, "Oh, why not? I'm even gonna wear like a green shirt so the students can start asking me what it means to go green. I'm going to become one of your ambassadors." So he started going to campus, riding his bicycle, and then we started expanding to other leaders in schools, student leaders, professors, lecturers, and just plugging in different aspects of their life. For instance, we have a student say, cycling can keep you fit. We have students say, I choose to live green, I be my waste, etc. And students were beginning to ask questions, what does it mean to go green? Then we organized our first seminar series and a day of action. And we have to go to the very, very basic level. And these are some of the slides I showed my students then. I had to explain to them, what the ozone layer is and how some of our anthropogenic activities are depleting the ozone layer. And then I went a step further to ask them that when you think about if you don't know what it means to go green, again, this is about 10 years back. When you think about the word green, what comes to your mind? And some of the students, they told me, growth, rebirth, renewal, fruitfulness, and some of the amazing nature life. And I said, most of the answers I'm getting from my students shows that being green is something positive. But why are we not going green? Well, in the Nigerian context, it's corruption. And when people think about corruption, they think about political instability, they think about embezzlement, they think about a lot of things. But I told my students, let's think about corruption in an environmental sense. This picture was taken in a coastal region in Nigeria, oil produced in coastal region, and you can see the effects of oil degradation in that environment. So I told them that corruption is as simple as when you put your waste and you throw it somewhere, because that can lead to flooding in the grand scheme of things. So we started encouraging students on campus to bin their waste, to reduce visual pollution. So I showed them a picture of this and I asked them, where's it? Like, oh, Eiffel Tower. would you like to go to Eiffel Tower? Oh yeah, we would like to be there. We love it. Most of them was like, oh, I would like to go take a selfie at the Eiffel Tower. I said, but this is our reality. This is our campus. This is clean because, they are trying to make the environment clean, but this is what we have in our own community. So that kind of, sparked something in them. And I said, we need to start doing something. So we created an initiative called the Trash for Education. And the idea is to incentivize students bidding their waste. So students can bring their waste to the Green Center. And then when they bring their waste to the Green Center, they can exchange that for educational materials. They can exchange that to take courses with us. So it's just a kind of way to incentivize education. And then we have the program started with this student right here. Her name is Grace. And she just finished high school, and she couldn't get admission into the university right away due to some funds and other things. So she came to do an internship with the As of Then When initiative. So I told her, and I was jokingly, I just said, and I said, what do you need? She said, I need a book and I need a solar lamp to read. And I said, okay, can you bring me 2,500 plastic bottles? If you can bring me 2,500 plastic bottles, I'll give you a book and I'll give you a solar lamp. And then she was like, okay. And then she went home, she told her mom, and her mom went to the market. Her mom works in the market. She went to the market and she started telling all the market women, can you give me your plastic bottle? Don't put your plastic bottle on the floor. Give me your plastic bottles. And before you know it, she didn't just bring me 2,500. She brought me about over 3,000 plastic bottles. So even though I was joking, I mean, that was what brought the idea of the Trash for Education initiative. And then we started telling students to reduce visual pollution on campus. When students are running for positions on campus, like student presidents and things like that, they usually have their posters up. So we try to tell them, there are other ways, sustainable ways that you can advertise. And then we also, and these are some of the students now taking actions, cleaning their campuses, making sure that they're painting buildings that are dilapidated. And we also encourage them to plant flowers and trees. And these are some of them planting flowers. I was able to go back to the campus. I was going to show you a picture of what this place looks like now. It doesn't look like this anymore. You have lots of trees here now, 10 years later. So this is just showing, student activities and just, as we empower each student to embrace sustainability through, planting of trees, we're not just encourage them to plant trees. We're growing resilient forests of change, one young mind at a time. And they're having fun, they're working with each other. And as a 10-year back, we also encourage them to conserve energy. And we have a student project here, which this student was able to create. They created a solar-powered, I think it was sponsored by a bank. They created a solar-powered ATM machine on campus. And we also encourage them to conserve water on campus. And I've talked about this, greening their, cycling on campus, and just getting a lot of people. And also we encourage them to plant their own food, to grow organic food. And in doing that, they're becoming entrepreneurs. So we have some of them have their farms, animal farms, and different kind of crops, vegetables, and they're also happy just doing that. And then we have some of them there's palm oil, so they process the palm oil and then they sell to the local community, which is also growing the local economy. And most importantly, we preach that some of the students they became green ambassadors. So that's at the university level, and now we equip them to go back to give back. So we've trained them. Now they go back to high school, to secondary schools, to primary schools. So whatever they've learned from us, then they go start a green club in their communities. So we encourage them to raise eco-conscious kids. And these are examples of some of the ambassadors. I'm still going to talk about this girl later and just showing other kids some of the things that she's learned. And we've also created a lot of comic books for young people to talk about so that they can understand the idea of sustainability visually, or the idea of environmental stewardship. And we have books at every level. So this is at primary level. This book was sponsored by the National Geographic. This is at the high school or secondary school level. And there's a book for the university student, Principles of Green and Sustainability Science, that was published by Springer. So we encourage students to be social entrepreneurs, like I've talked about, to think about people, to think about planet, and to think about profit. And at the end of the day, we now said we need to start not just telling them what to do, they need to start taking leadership. And then we came up with an idea called the Green Ministers. So this is the first cohort of our ministers. Our ministers have different kind of portfolios. We have Minister for Environment, we have Minister for Sustainable Transportation, Minister for Agriculture, and all Minister of Education, and all areas of sustainability. And this initiative that started in the rural community in Nigeria started attracting people from other parts of Africa. And this is Mahmoud. Mahmoud came to Nigeria when he heard about some of the works that we've been doing, and came to train when we transitioned into a Green Institute. Fast forward about 6 years or 7 years later, Mahmoud now works for UNESCO. When Mahmoud came into the program, he wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do. But after the program, he said, I want to get a degree or something. I want to impact. I want to work with groundwater. So now he's at UNESCO, and he's also doing his PhD. When he came to the institute, he was so scared. Oh, I don't know how to write, so we encouraged them to do presentations in seminars. And I saw this not quite about 4 days ago, and I was really, really excited when he said, oh, right now I'm presenting my first PhD paper at a conference. And it just shows a lot of growth of something that we started, and just seeing some of the students now going on, taking on leadership roles. This is Becky. Becky is now, she works with Young Refugees team. She's a social worker. This was when she started with us as a student at the Green Institute. And funny enough, I was able to attend. She graduated with a master's, and I was able to attend our master's graduation. I think it was in the UK, and this is our daughter. So it's just showing like a lot of growth over the years of the programs that we started. And I also saw this on LinkedIn, and I was about 9 months ago, and I was really, really excited, quite excited to see this. And she said that despise not the days of little beginnings, he said the young shall grow. And he said, she was referring to this picture that we took at that graduation. And she said, I was an intern at the Green Institute in 2017, and I was mentored by me. And while I was at the internship, I learned a lot under Professor leadership. And then she said, she went on and said that, I was just a girl desperate to build my capacity, knowing fully well that when the opportunity comes, I will fit in. And then she said that I went beyond that. I attended that graduation ceremony, and she just said a lot of things on how now that she has been able to apply whatever she's learned in the green program into becoming and who she is. So sometimes as teachers, we just need to believe in our students. I didn't even know I did all this when she said Prof came for the Children's Day event I organized when I was an intern. She surprised me by coming to my wedding. She shocked me by attending my graduation and having dinner with my family. So I didn't know I was doing all these things. I was just, whenever she tells me she's doing something, I just make sure I'm there. So it's not just okay for us as teachers to teach. It's also, we need to make sure that we're there for some of our students when they need us. And this is Odunayo Aliu. She's also one of the ministers that you saw, and she was one of the girls that was showing someone how to. In my previous presentation, in the previous things that I've talked about, she was one of the students that was showing someone how to paint. And now Odunayo has her own school. It's called the Bramble School, and it's an alternative way of learning. The Bramble School is an outdoor school somewhere in Nigeria, where students are learning outside of classroom. They're using things in their local communities to learn. So it's a green school, and I'm so excited about the work that Odunayo is doing right now. She's a social entrepreneur, and she's influencing a lot of people. A lot of young people are graduating from that school, and then going on to make a big, powerful change in their communities. And now we're spread around different campuses. Even though we started at the ADME College campus, now we're spreading across different campuses, both locally and even globally. We work across 36 states in Nigeria, so in most of the universities we're well represented. And then we do have something called the Officially Green Pledge, and just getting people, advocating for people to go green from universities to communities in different globally. So wherever I go, even though this project started as something as simple as what does it mean to go green, I try to take that idea of officially green with me. Whether I'm in the local community, I try to work with people, with students across different networks, making sure that I'm integrating myself into that community and also pushing the idea of sustainability, the idea of green, and just translating that not just in the four walls of a university setting, but translating that into our communities, spending time with people and seeing what do they need, what makes them happy, what makes them thrive in their various communities. What can we do to help them? And not just communities, but also still continuing to not just now look at the university students, but going back to the basics of high school students, of primary school students, and just still teaching them, working with the National Geographic to develop various curriculums to for our schools and our communities, and also using science to translate some of those things that we've talked about into action. So not just teaching, but also research. And moving from research now to policy. So right now, currently, I'm working with the United Nations as a lead author, and just seeing some of the things that we've done at the Green Institute, and seeing how does that translate into policy? What are the legal frameworks that needs to be worked on? There's something that we call the Green Pledge. So what I believe is that every student's journey towards sustainability is a vital step towards our collective future. And by going green one student at a time, we're building a world that thrives on renewal and resilience. And at the Green Institute, we have something called the Green Pledge. And I would love all of us to take the green, even though maybe we're already doing all these things, but usually we ask our students to take the Green Pledge to show their commitment towards sustainability. And today I'm inviting all of you to please take the Green Pledge with me. The way we take the Green Pledge is we put our right hands on our chest, hopefully. So if you don't mind, put your right hand on your chest, and then you say after me. So when I say my name is Adenike, you can say, please don't say my name. I'll say your name. So my name is Adenike. Okay. I will never drop that waste on the floor.
I will never drop that waste.
But waste on the floor.
I will eat and drink moderately
I will eat and drink moderately
because I know some people do not have access to food and water.
because I know some people do not have access to food and water.
I will always switch off my appliances when not in use.
I will always switch off my appliances when not in use.
I will travel sustainably.
I will travel sustainably.
I will tell others about the green movement.
I will tell others about the green movement.
And above all,
And above all,
pledge to be green.
I pledge to be green.
Thank you very much for having me today. Let's go green, and I'll be willing to take questions at this time.